consistency and intensity have a symbiotic but paradoxical relationship. If you're trying to accomplish a goal, you can have the method of consistency or the method of intensity. Intensity is like the Navy SEALs doing a tactical strike, trying to take out some government by knocking out some leader. Consistency is like the tide washing away Plum Island. They're fundamentally different traits. They're different things, but one emerges from the other. You only get the Navy SEALs because you have the large and consistent base of the United States military and its broader population to draw from. You can only peak for a competition if you have a basis of activity like walking, hiking, push-ups, pull-ups, kettlebells, training, drilling, all this stuff. You have to build the ability to peak with the consistency, and you have to kind of like find the balance. If you never have any intensity, it's like a fire. If fire burns too hot, it'll burn itself out. But if you just blow on some sticks for a really long time, they're never going to catch fire, because the fire itself is a consistent process that's the result of an intense peak that then becomes self-maintaining. Metabolism is a lot like this as well. Metabolism has peaks and it has troughs, and it mostly tries to be consistent. But within this consistency, there's variation that leads to intensity. And you need that. You need that in your life. You need that in your work. You need that in your schedule, in your daily habits, in the nature of the evolution of these habits, etc. It's interesting. Like, it's really interesting to think about, because you have a lot of training protocols that are built on consistency, like just do this every single day. And you have a lot of training protocols that are built on intensity, like we do one big workout once a week. Mike Mentzer's stuff is like once every 3 weeks even. And that's pretty intense, but inconsistent. You can get crazy results doing that. I got a friend who was doing the Mike Mentzer stuff. He blew up to like 220 pounds, like muscular, doing that, working out like once every 3 weeks. But he just felt like he was like going crazy because he had no consistency. There was no consistent pattern for his body to follow. Other people have the problem where they have a very consistent pattern, but because they never have intensity, they never get their body used to the fact that things can be harder. So then their recovery systems are weak. Like, they can't ultimately recover a lot because they never peak. So that's like, but if you're always peaking, you're going to start dying. So then you have to rest. You have to have peaks and rest. But then if you rest too much, that's bad as well. So you have to have like consistency within rest. Like when I'm resting, I walk, because walking it's like the only form of exercise I allow myself to do when I'm resting, because it's not really intense. It's just kind of like walking. And then I ramp up from there all the way to like jiu-jitsu tournaments, which is like the most intense form of training. People be like, training, leave it all out there, man. You should die on the mat. And I'm like, no, that's really stupid. Like, I have a family to protect. Like, what am I going to die on a mat for, man? It's the most moronic thing I've ever heard. Die on a fucking mat for what? Like even if it's $1 million, it's just paper, bro. It's just paper. Like, I like my kidneys. I like everything working. I'm not going to die on the mat. I'm just using tournaments to train for, like, if I actually had to do something. I mean, why on God's green earth would I ever make competition the goal of my life? It's insane. The goal of your life, I don't know. I think the goal of your life is kind of just play. I mean, it's just interesting. Like, be engaged. I think having people you love helps. I don't really know if there's like some point to life. I don't really think there is. I think that there might be a point to your life, like if you give it one, or like if you discover the point to your life. I think the point to your life is revealed in what engages you, like what makes you happy on the longest term in the most ways, while engaging you with systems that are feeding that in a positive way and not in a way that requires, like, I don't know. I don't think Jeffrey Dahmer was pursuing his own happiness, you know? I think Jeffrey Dahmer was, like, succumbing to low energy levels. Because at the end of the day, like, he wanted to die. Like, he was ultimately upset about what he did. And I feel like any serial killer at some point really would be, if they're just in touch with themselves. Because, like, we're all made in the image of God. Like, fundamentally, we're built, like, we have these soft bodies that, like, have tons of receptors all over them that, like, make babies and, like, bond with people with oxytocin and stuff. Like, we're really, like, lovable beings when we're being, like, good. And, like, even our desire to, like, hurt things in its natural place is just a desire to hurt things that would hurt those we love, which is itself a beautiful desire. Like, if something's gonna hurt my child, I'm just like, ah, like, that's beautiful. And I feel like the things that make us monsters are really things that corrupt these good drives within us. So ultimately, you got to train, you got to drink water, you probably got to sleep. I mean, God knows I try to sometimes. I've slept at least sometimes most of the time, and it was good for me. And actually, I'm sleeping more now, and, you know, trying it out, it's really great. I really recommend everyone sleep, like, every night. I know, like, they're calling me a sleep act. Like, dude, you're sleeping every night, 8 hours? Like, yeah, I just started doing that. It's a new thing. I feel like I'm not dying anymore, though. It's great.